Hi, my name is Nsenga Knight, and I'm a 2022 to 2024 In Situ Fellow at the Queen's Museum. My solo exhibition here is called Close to Home. And in the exhibition, I used quite a few materials from the World's Fair archive from 1964-65, particularly focusing in on what I call like Islamic Africa. So that's especially like places like Egypt and Sudan, and also the Caribbean. So what we're gonna look at here is some of the pieces that from the archive that intrigued me the most, and some of them which I directly pulled from for my exhibition. So when I first came to the archive, I knew that this archive here at the Queen's Museum had a special edition World's Fair Encyclopedia collection. And so this is Encyclopedia Americana. This particular one is from Ebusquiza to Falsetto. And I grew up with a set of encyclopedias, and in my home growing up, I'm like a child of the 80s. I was born in 1981. So like we always had encyclopedias. Encyclopedias are like for the kiddos. They might not have ever, like my kids probably have never seen or used an encyclopedia before, but this was like our version of the internet, right? So it's like your parents bought these encyclopedias, or somebody would come to your house to sell them, and like from that you could spend like hours and hours just going from one set to the next, and it would like tell you about the latest information of whatever we know about that place or that thing in the world. And the thing I love about encyclopedias, and we're going to get into this one, is that they are like a timestamp for like that time period, what the opinions were, what the latest information was for that time period, because you don't update encyclopedias. Like they're printed, they're there. This is the one from 1964-65. If you want to know, it's not like the internet where you just sort of like update the website and you don't even know that, let's say what the news or the science or the opinions were about that place or those people, what it was, even yesterday, or even like a week, or better yet, 50, 60 years prior, right? So I first came in, I lived in, part of the reason why my exhibition is called Close to Home is because I lived in, I'm from New York, I'm from Brooklyn in particular, but I lived in Cairo, Egypt for 6 years, like right before I came to do this fellowship at the museum. So I was returning home in a sense. And so I play on this word home in a lot of ways in the exhibition. And so what you'll see in my exhibition as well is that I made a part of the installation, it's modeled after my Cairo apartment. So I wanted to see like immediately, like what was the entry on Egypt, right? So I came here, went to this section, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look. And what is the entry on Egypt, 1964-65. Egypt is a very interesting and kind of contentious place always, because I think for a lot of Black folks, Egypt has very special significance in regards to our history and how we connect back to Africa. And also, we have kind of an imagined idea about like our ancestors and Egypt in particular. So here, this is kind of very interesting. So the encyclopedia, right, I said it starts with like whatever what is, this word Ebusquiza, that's the first thing in here, Ebusquiza, right, which is, I just learned, a place in Paraguay. And so you get like a tiny little entry on that. And then right after that, right when you open it, and the first thing you see here is Egypt, right, and a monument. And so it says, Egypt is a North African republic formerly 58 to 1961, constituting a region of the United Arab Republic. So Egypt was also called United Arab Republic. I think that's still the official name. In union with Syria, right? So anyway, Syria ceded in 1961, but the name United Arab Republic. Anyway, you go into sort of like history because it's also like a place that's been contentious through ancient times and even modern times of like, rulership and what have you. And so, when you talk about Egypt, there's like the ancient Egypt, right? But then there's also the Islamic Egypt. There's also of course, the contemporary Egypt and the culture, the people, and so we're just gonna go into some of the different aspects of this section, at least as it was told in 1964-65. Right. And wow, even if you look at just this photograph, you notice that I didn't use this photograph in my exhibition, but even if you look in this photograph, this idea of the ancient Egypt, the Islamic Egypt, and the contemporary Egypt is all in one photograph, right? And then there's also the idea of the Arab Egypt or the Nubian Egypt, the African Egypt or the Middle Eastern Egypt, right? So you have like this ancient figure here. And then you have here this man who's wearing like a traditional kind of Islamic dress, and he has, this head covering. And so this head covering in Egypt, like if somebody was an Azhari, like they're a Islamic scholar from the Azhar University, so he has on a cap that kind of lets you know that he's probably an Azhari. And then you have like the students who are wearing, mixed between like tie or a sort of more Western like contemporary dress, right? And these are things you can see all at once, right? In Egypt, I feel like that's one of the things about Egypt. You get to see a lot of things all at once, all things existing at once, right?